Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inspire. I am your host, Shah Hayes, and depending on which way you're looking, is the founder and CEO of Inspire by Anonymous, Kiana.
Hello, everyone.
We're so excited to have everyone here this evening and share in another journey of someone in their career and how they have been an inspiration to others and how their journey has been paved for them. But tonight we have a special guest. Tonight we have Councilman Bergson Leneus, and I know he goes by Councilman Berg, but we'll call him that. And we're so excited to have him here with us. He, if some don't know his journey, is the first Haitian American to be elected into office and has been reelected recently. So we congratulate that in East Orange. Congratulate him on his endeavor, and so happy that he has joined us today to talk about his journey as being an Haitian American, being a council member for East Orange, as well as his journey into becoming who he is today. So without further ado, let's enter Councilman Berg.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello
how
there.
are you?
We are
How are
honored
you?
to have you here.
It's my honor and pleasure to be with you tonight.
Well, thank you
Great.
so much. Sha, take it away.
Well, I was so excited. I know Kiana, when she had met the mayor a couple of months back, and in yourself at the time when you all were going around canvassing the neighborhood, she was telling me how excited she was having met you both and how honored she was to have you, having been a resident of New Jersey her entire life, and then now living in East Orange, and knowing that the importance, the impact that people like yourself make to the community, and that how much I know it means to you to be that kind of person. So let's take a step back as someone who grew up with or I should say a family from Haiti, and having the influence and being a child of four. How was that being in a household amongst them? Because a lot of times your voice can get lost. How was that growing up?
Wow, that's a great question. First off, I just want to say thank you to you, Shah, and Kiana for having me here. I
Absolutely.
love the amazing work that you guys have been doing.
Thank you.
Since the day I met Kiana, and I got my shirt from her. I've been rocking it ever since. Heavy. I've been, promoting the
Very
brand,
well. I love it. You sure
promoting
did.
the movement. Yeah, so I've been promoting the movement. So, this is
Yes.
an amazing and awesome platform that you guys are giving, people in the community that speak. And I'm no different, born to Haitian immigrants, 104. And as you stated, growing up with three brothers, it's a little difficult to have your voice be heard. But one of the things that I can say is that,
Well,
my
we're getting
brothers
some
and I,
feedback, and I want to make sure everyone's able to hear you. Do you have anything else going on, like another recording? Because you're echoing a little bit. I want to make sure everyone be able to hear you.
I do not actually, no.
I hear
Okay.
everything clearly on my end, too.
Okay, good. All right.
Okay,
Go
sorry.
ahead. No problem.
So one of the things that I can say is that I probably have the three greatest brothers in the history of brothers. A lot of them they're selfless, egoless, and we just allowed each other to kind of grow and blossom. So it was kind of easy to have each of us have our individual voices because we're all individual people, but yet we all have a love for each other that's second to none.
So, was there certain pressures in your family? I mean, sometimes, often, there's certain fields that families want you to go into. Was there certain kind of things that they were pushing you towards?
Oh man, growing up in a Haitian household, the only options that we had were either a doctor, lawyer, police officer. Those are like the three platforms or careers that they wanted us to go into. So they kind of pushed us towards those careers. And I can say that none of us are in those careers. So, but
Ran to the opposite.
yeah, we're like the complete and utter opposite. But those are the platforms that our family and I think this common in the Caribbean household, but especially the Haitian household. It is something that is like you're pressured, to either be a doctor, a lawyer, or a nurse, or a police officer, and those are like the four options.
Right. So knowing that that was the external pressures of family to have these kind of career choices, when you went to school, did you find yourself maybe wanting to appease to your parents, or you for yourself had said, "No, I'm going to identify with what makes me happy"? How did you decide that for yourself?
No, we definitely didn't understand what self-happiness was about, and trying to find our way and our own voice. The voice came from our parents. So every move that we made, we heard that little voice in the background of that person that's sitting on your shoulder. It was our parents, so it wasn't much later in life that I actually started to understand what my passion truly was and what I wanted to do. But early in life, no, there definitely was no, option for us. The option was the four that I told you, doctor, lawyer, police officer, or a nurse. There was no other option. It wasn't until I was well into my adulthood that I found my passion, or it found me.
So when you're in school and you're like delving into majors, of course they're asking, what was like one of the things that you first was like, all right, I'll sign up for this?
I signed up for social work and criminal justice initially.
Okay.
And and I thought that's what I wanted because that's what I was raised to believe. And as throughout my collegiate career, public service just started calling me. I wanted to make a change. I wanted to make a difference. And for me personally, I didn't believe it was going to be through, a career in criminal justice or a career in, social work. And so my gears and my mind and my attention and my passion started shifting towards public service.
So you're in going in college, and you have to declare something. So you say, okay, I'm going to go into criminal justice and social work. You said there was a calling. When was that moment you had inside of you that you could say define that moment that it was drawing you to want to be in a career of service?
The voice actually started, I would say, as a young man, but I didn't really hear it.
I think we lost him. Uh-oh. I think it's so funny because I was looking around like, what did something happen on mine?
He'll definitely be back. While we're waiting, I just there's some shout outs to some folks that are following. Kendall. We also have Tanisha. Tanisha saying, great job, Berg. And we also have Erlene Bell. Your passion found you, and it found the right one.
No, that's amazing.
Yes.
So people knew it as well. So as you were saying that you heard it younger in your younger years.
Yeah. My aunt, God bless the dead. If you believe in a lot of the things, she foretold, and she's had a vision that I would, be someone who would help people. And it was something, again, I didn't understand. I didn't ignore. Again, I was a child. In high school, fast forward to high school years, I started to listen to the music of, the legendary poet, activist, and musician Tupac Shakur. Really started to resonate with me as a young man. I had a teacher by the name of T.J. Whitaker, who in the high school that I attended started to introduce us to the revolutionary works of Maria Abu-Jamal, Assata Shakur, and many other great activists and, people in the community who actually made a difference. And all of that was brewing. Again, the drum was beating. And then during my collegiate career, I had my daughter, my eldest, actually I had my 4 children while I was in college. And I just started to understand, and I said, I want to make sure that the city that I love, the people that I love, and the people that my children, my namesake, have a better environment for them to grow up in. And I started to look around, and, although I saw a lot of progress being made, I felt like I had the tools and the necessary and the requisite experience to, improve upon what was going on. And so I started to delve right into it. And I said, this is what I want. This is what I was born to do. And it was just like a light switch.
Well, and you talked about Tupac Shakur and how much of his words have been an impact on you. And I saw a video that you posted about, your influence being sparking. So you won't change the world, but you can do something to spark the person's brain that would. Speak to how much of that wording and how that position about where you decided to turn the light switch on to service others mean to you in terms of not being the person to be the change maker or the changing of the world, but being the person who sparks that.
So Tupac Shakur, and I believe it was 1996. So I was 16 years old. Again, I'm in high school. And I saw this interview. So, back then there wasn't internet access the way it is now. And, I saw him on some show it was and on the TV. And he said that, I may not change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that resonated with me. I looked around and I kind of understood that we as a people, there's a myriad of issues that we have in this country. Obviously, since the beginning of the imperialist enterprise that occurred here in this country and throughout North America and Central and South America. And I just started to understand that I may not change the world, because it's probably a lot to undo. But I guarantee that I'm going to spark that brain that will. And, me being an advocate for children and a fight for children, even at a young age, I just married the two. And I said, this is what I'm going to do. I know I don't want to be a teacher, a traditional teacher per se, but I do know that I have the ability to mentor children. And, so again, that drum was started at the age of 16.
So now you're in your collegiate years, you're getting out of college, and you decide from there, what then? Like you now have this degree. Now what? What are you doing with it at that point?
So I would say that, I graduated a little earlier, later, because of, because of my 4 children. So I was going to school part-time, going to school in the evening, working during the day. Once I graduated at the age of 26, I toiled in uncertainty for a few years. So I was about the age of 29 that I said, aha, I have it. I know what I'm going to do. So I started to attend council meetings. My family and I created a nonprofit, and we started just doing community work. And it was just very small things we just started doing cleanups in the city. We just started helping those, who couldn't help themselves, and food banks, we just started doing little things like that. And the whole time I said, I know I can do more. I know I can do more. And so by the age of 32, I met I knew him previously, but, a brother by the name of Troy Webster. And I just happened to go into City Hall and I said, I want to do more. I know I can do more. I have the experience. And, I'm asking, get me involved, but I want to specifically focus on children. And he said, wow, today's your lucky day. And I said, what is that? And he said, one of the board members just, surprisingly just resigned, and we have to fill her unexpired term. And we know what you've been doing in the city, and we need somebody as soon as possible. Can you be that person? And, so it was God, it was nothing but God.
Yes,
the day that I walked into the building that day, at that moment, at that time.
Divine intervention, truly, because what are the odds of life that you walk into the door of the day in which someone is leaving and that person's exit becomes your blessing to the next step of your career?
Exactly. And that's a true story too. That's exactly what happened. Same exact day. And I just spoke, something said, speak to this man. I never spoke to him before about my passion. He just knew me from the community, but I just verbalized it. And again, nothing but God. So.
And that's just, the old cliche, what is for you is for you. Is truly in that moment, because you were aligned in that moment for that to happen. Like no one else came before you. There wasn't a long wait list of people who were prior to you. You walked in the door and that was meant for you to happen for you. So I guess once after you're now seated on the board and you have this position, you could have easily settled into that role. Why not just stay there? What made you say I can do more after that?
Since a young man, my parents always instilled in me that I was put here for a bigger purpose. And, I kind of just been like guided and pushed towards leadership, even when I didn't want to, even when I didn't know it. I was always just pushed into those positions and into those, those crevices. And wherever there was a need that needed to be filled, I was pushed into it. And just like I stated, just that happenstance meeting, I was pushed into that. And so, while I was on the board, again, 32, within a year, I became the vice president. By the second year, I became the president of the board. And at the time, I was the youngest youngest president in the board history. Wow. And, a lot of my colleagues were, much, much older than me. So it took some getting used to from them trying, listening to and taking advice and guidance from someone who was, 32 years old, 33 years old. But everyone respected me because they knew, based off my experience, based off the work I did in the community, based off of my reputation that preceded me, that I had the necessary requisite tools to do the job.
And speak to that. I mean, in the world, the evolution of world that we're changing, that oftentimes people who are younger will be the boss of someone who may have been in the position for 40 years or so. How was it? How did you get someone to kind of get to the point where they was like, all right, I'm not going to look at his age, his experience, or his knowledge about this matters more than what his age represents?
So just to kind of go back, I was a property manager at one time. And so I was managing several hundred units in the city of East Orange. I had, basically handled many acquisitions throughout my career. I was running a multi-million-dollar company with about, 50, 60 staff members. So I was in a leadership position at a very young age. So coming to the board, which is obviously, quadruple, quintuple that, but the same requisite skills are needed. You have to have organization. You have to be able to pull the necessary skills out of people, to pull the best out of people, from the best and your brightest to those who may not be your best and the brightest. You have to pull and accept and hold each person accountable, and you have to be innovative. And I've always, God's kind of blessed me with that. That's one of my, skills, I can say, is that, I kind of have a vision of what I would like to see and what I believe is the right way. And, having people understand that and having people follow me on that has been something that I've been blessed with throughout my career. So it was a little sketchy at first. But once people started hearing me speak, once people started seeing the plan, once I put pen to paper, they understood and they followed me, and we just took off. And we did some amazing things while on the board.
And I know that a part of everything you've been doing or have been doing is, like you said earlier, about children, and mentorship is one of the most crucial things that you have been doing and continue to do in the community. And we have a special guest here that we want to bring on to acknowledge what you've done in their lives.
Oh, okay.
What's up, Councilman Bergson?
Hola.
Your boy, hola, man. Look, I am so blessed. Every day when I count my blessings, I count you as one of my blessings, because I've been so blessed since moving to America. And, you're just someone that I admire so much. But before I proceed, I would like to do a little introduction about myself. My name is Olanrewaju Olamuyiwa, but I go by Ola for short. I currently attend Central Connecticut State University here in New Britain, Connecticut, where I study political science, and I minor in anthropology. And I'm going to tell you, being an athlete, being a Division I athlete at the collegiate level, it's no joke. It's like a full-time job. But, I'm just thankful for grace. I'm thankful for favor from God, because God has blessed me so much to meet people like, Berg. Like, he's an amazing person. I remember our first encounter, I think it was 2019, right before I graduated high school. As at that point, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to go to college, play ball, have my degree. And I was contemplating whether do political science or do communications. And, I took my visit. And when I got to the campus, my academic advisor told me that, hell, a lot of athletes that we get usually do communications. We haven't met any athletes that want to do political science. And I'm like, I love political science. And, coming from another country, I want to know how, the politics and how government works and stuff like that. And then, boom, God sent me Berg and he said, this is your answer.
Amazing.
And then I met Councilman Berg and we started, hanging out. I started receiving mentorship from him. And the picture sort of, came clear to me and said, look, this is the right path for you to follow. And I'm going to tell you, it's been quite an interesting journey to, follow this path that I'm on right now, because political science is challenging and I love it. But, for Councilman Berg in my life, I've, learned from him, and he's just someone I can always call every time and say, hey, I need advice. I need this. I need that. And also, is someone that I learn a lot from. Is really good with networking. And I also, learn those skills when I go out with him. I remember one time we was at the dinner with Senator Cory Booker, and I saw the way he sort of introduced me. I felt important that day.
You are important.
I told my
Big
family
Ola, you are important.
Okay.
Thank you,
Councilman
I told my
Berg,
family
talk
back
about
home.
this young man and how how you all have met and what the kinship of your relationship. Although he spoke a little bit about it, like how has mentoring him guided through his career itself?
A lot of people know, if you know me, if you follow me, if you just know me personally throughout my, journey, I'm an emotional person, and Ola is someone who, from the day that I first met, a lot of times when we're doing this life of service, we're giving and we're giving and we're giving. And Ola, believe it or not, and I don't think I've said this to him, but I'm going to say this to him, is that he's someone that I received from, his light, his passion, and his love and his intelligence. It just reminds me of why I do what I do. And, he is somebody who I expect big things from, and I'm telling him that I'm expecting big things, and he knows that, and I'm just so proud of him. He is someone who to watch out for, and not only just on a local stage, but on a global stage. This young man is going to be a diplomat or something, and I'm speaking into an existence. He is not just going to be relegated to just local politics and local community service and local activism. He is going to change the world, and I'm telling you that right now. And he is someone
sparking brains along the way. So we appreciate you so much for coming on here and sharing how much Berg, as you call him, means to you, because I know that it's important for him to know that he's been all the work he's doing. I know he sees it, that he's doing and pouring into you all, and that you can pour back into him with your words. So we thank you, King Ola, for sharing that with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. I am so honored to come here today and just share my story, my experience, and for having him being a part of my journey. I think it's really great. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Ola, I love you, King, and good luck on your season. I know you had a game Tuesday.
Yeah,
and you guys were playing UConn, and I know you was doing your thing.
Yeah,
and he started.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, great. That is amazing.
Thank you so much.
We'll be looking out for you. That should be cheering from all over for you, for sure.
Absolutely. I'm gonna drop my Instagram right now.
Yes, come on Instagram.
Follow me on Instagram. Just Ola, JUST. The O is the 0. Just Ola, and I'm gonna follow you right back. Thank you so much.
Say it again so Key can get it, so we can put it down the bottom. Say it again.
Just Ola, but the O is a 0.
Okay.
That's the only Ola you're gonna see on Instagram. The legitimate Ola.
It's just JUST and then the 0.
Yeah, JUST 0 LA.
But the word just is there too, right?
Yeah, the word just is there.
Y'all know how important to these kids to get these followers up, y'all.
Thanks for the love and support. They say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes people like Councilman Berg. It takes people like you guys to raise me, to help me become that great man I want to be in the future. And I am so appreciative and blessed to be here today. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for coming on and
Love
again
you,
being
King.
able to give Councilman Berg his flowers. We appreciate you so much for joining us. And good faith. I don't believe in luck, so good faith for everything you want to do in your life in the future. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
And I think we have another special guest, right, coming on that wants to come and give Councilman Berg his flowers. Is that the special guest there, Key?
How you doing, Councilman Berg?
Wow. Hey, Jay, what's up, King?
Came to surprise you
Look
today.
at King Jay.
But yeah, I just want to start off by explaining a short backstory of how I met Councilman Berg. I met him off of my friend Ola, who was previously just on. And when I first saw him, when I heard Councilman, I was like, what? Wow, like it was an inspiration to see that kind of identity holding that position. Like when I heard that, I was really inspired by that. And one of my first experiences when I first met Councilman Berg in person, it was that one day we went to the kitchen and we made food for the people coming by. I think it was Thanksgiving week or something like that. We went to the senior home and ended up giving up some food and different items to people who didn't have family coming around and visiting them. And that first initial interaction with Councilman Berg, like it just taught me so much in terms of like it's okay to give back without receiving anything. Like sometimes like we always see the negative in our society and we're not ever the first people to pick up like the tool and change that. We always look for somebody else to do that. So like my first experience with Councilman Berg definitely told me that sometimes you have to step up to the plate and be the good in the world because somebody else may not do that. And I just want to say that I'm proud of you, Councilman Berg, and what me and my family supporting. And I just want to thank you for everything that you've done for my friend and me as well. So you're doing great.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
If y'all use Instagram, follow my Instagram too. I play basketball at NJCU. My Instagram is Javin Irby, my first and last name, Jayvin Irby, Irby. And thank you for letting me be on here today. I'm honored as well.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing. Councilman, do you want to say any words to Jay just about how, go ahead.
Of course. First, say hi to mom and dad for me. Jay is again someone and just like Ola, I've never met such young men with just have such passion, drive, and they already kind of know what they want. They are true leaders. I am excited and humbled to be in your presence, Jay. And
likewise. Oh man, he dropped.
He'll be back.
He'll be back.
He'll be back.
So I have to jump on because I'm back here tearing up.
Listen, I already said the minute this young man said something about giving without receiving, I said Kiana probably back there crying.
I have my tissue there and I'm in the back already tearing up, already crying. Oh my
Jay,
goodness. I'm gonna let you go back to this.
I don't know what's up with StreamYard, but Jay, man, I'm proud of you. I expect the most again from you. And I know that, your leadership will shine through on whatever it is you decide to do. He also, along with Ola, they will be future leaders of this world, on global level. And I'm excited, man. And I'm honored. And he is someone who I've learned from as well. And the young people like him and Ola are the ones that drive me to make sure that I do what I do. Again, going back to Tupac, they will be the spark. It seems I'm the spark, but they will be the ones to change the world. And, I stand beside you, brother. I stand behind you. And, we're here for you, bro. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jay, so much for coming on here.
And Jay, I'm sorry. Good luck on the season, King. I know you just started as well. Your mom was telling me everything, man. I'm telling you, got to come to your games. And also,
for sure.
Thanksgiving, we're going to be doing it again, so I need you.
All right, of course. All right, thank you, Councilman.
Well, thank you for coming on and sharing how much Councilman Berg has meant to you and giving him his flowers. We appreciate you, and we will cheer you on from wherever we are, and we wish you much success.
Okay, thank you.
Take care. Take care. Well, we wanted to take that moment because we know, and I know how much your commitment to the community, and as you stated earlier about our youth and how important it is, and just showing the impact and how much when you spark their brains and spark their lives, how much it matters to them. And talk about that in terms of the importance, because oftentimes people always say, well, how do I get involved? How can I help? Talk about what does it mean and the dedication it means behind mentoring.
The one thing with community service that I love and mentorship, and public advocacy is there's no age requirement. You know, you can be whatever age, you can come from any income background, you can be in any social economic status, you can be any religious group, religious base, any gender, any group. It doesn't matter what you are, where you are in this world, you can do it. And that's what's most exciting for me is the fact that you can be anywhere in the world, you can be any group, you can be any person, and you can be an advocate for young people, and you can be an advocate for change, you can be an advocate for women, you can be an advocate for the poor, you can be an advocate for children. It doesn't matter what it is, just whatever your passion is, follow it, go forward in it, and just do it to the best of your ability. If you can do all of those things, you'll be successful in this industry.
And I can imagine not only being a mentor to the community, you're a mentor to your own children, and being a father of four, and talked about how the journey of going through college and having to go through that and being a parent at the same time. Talk about the balance of what that means to having, people don't, that was up with the working class mom, there was up with the working dad who has to still juggle, work and school and kids. How did you go through that, and how did you challenge yourself to rise above that, being a parent and going to school at the same time?
So I was a teenage father, I had my daughter at 19. So, the proverbial baby raising a baby. So there was a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. A lot of mistakes were made. But I learned from those mistakes, and each time, the next time I was faced with that particular situation, I was able to do better and take it head on because of my previous mistakes. And that's what life is about. That's what parenthood is about. That's what mentorship is about. It's about growing with, within yourself, and then heaping and preaching and putting on that, experience and that knowledge that you've attained onto, the persons or persons that follow you. So subsequently, my children, I think they can tell you that, one thing about me is that, I'm a passionate person. I am a fun-loving person, but I'm also a serious person, and I expect the most out of, my children. They know that about me, and I think if you put them there and you put them on a lie detector, they'll tell you the same thing. That dad doesn't play, but he's also loving, he's also caring, and he will, he'll die for them, he'll live for them, he'll do whatever it takes to make sure that they have a smile on their face. Even when I'm wrong, I have the ability to apologize, because I know growing up, my parents didn't apologize for anything.
Yes.
And I don't blame them for that. I'm just saying that's just the way it is.
No,
and
that's true.
That's one of the things that I learned along the way, that it is okay to apologize to your kids if you're wrong. Yes. It is okay to, just be humble. And that's what I said, the biggest takeaway that my children would say, that their father is humble.
That is so true. That is so true, to be able to do that, because a lot of times communication often got lost, and that, as a generation before, they did the best of what they know. And now we have to acknowledge what we, know about it and make the changes and adjust to that. We take the foundation that we love about that, but we change it as we go along. But when you think about just your life in general, in terms of creating discipline for yourself, how has discipline allowed you to succeed and excel in your field? Because a lot of times, people who start out something and then 10 years later pick it back up again, which is fine. But a lot of times it's staying on course, because it could have just been just as easy to fall short by being a parent and then having to go to school part-time and having to work. How has discipline played a role in that for you?
Without discipline, the ship can't sail. Mm-hmm. You can build your Titanic. You can build your Titanic with all the fixings, all the trimmings, all of the necessary equipment. But without discipline, you will eventually run into that iceberg and sink. So I personally have used that as a staple of my career. And I think anyone who knows me knows that, I'm very disciplined. When I want something, I go and I continue until I get to that point and beyond. And it's kind of served me very, very well in this industry. Anybody who knows me, who's actually, who's unbiased, will tell you that the one thing about me is that I have amazing discipline and follow through. So it's something that I preach to everyone. It's like, it's not one thing, it's not the only thing, it's everything. And that's what separates the as they say, the mice from the men, the leaders from the boys and the girls.
This is true. And when you think about even everything that you learned, I know that a lot of philosophy you've taken from people who are and music and others who've come about in your life. Who has made a probably an influence or impact in your life that you have taken from today that you kind of use for your own self?
My father. My father. Joseph Councilman Leneus is hands down my greatest influence. He is someone that I emulate. I try to be like in a way. He is, and I'll say this to everybody until I'm blue in the face, that he is the nicest person on earth, the most gentle person on earth, the most respectful person on earth, the most humble person on earth. And obviously I'll never be him, but I try my best to follow in his footsteps. He is 1000% my greatest influence in this world. And he is someone who was there for my brothers and I. He was there for other, family members in the community. My mother's family, he loved them as if they were his own. The kids in the community, he loved them as if they were their own. His extended family, he loved them as if they were their own. And it just trickled down to my brothers and I. And, what you see today and the fact that I have so many village children is because of him. That's how he was. That's how he is. That's how he is to this day, even at the ripe old age of 79, I believe now.
Amazing.
He is still out there in the community. Still, I love that. Influencing people and mentoring people, and he is my greatest individual, experience, and is my greatest individual mentor. He is the person I emulate and the person I try to be like.
So if you had to look as far as the examples that he set for you, as far as parenting to your community activism, what are those things that you gleaned from him that you try to use and emulate in your own life?
It was important for me to make sure that my children saw a strong Black man in the household, a strong Black father, one who, spoke, truth to power, one who followed his convictions, and one who was disciplined. And it was very important for me to make sure that that my children saw that and the kids in the community see that. I had a conversation with my son one time. And in that conversation, he asked me, "Dad, why do you do what you do? Why are you always out there in the community? Why are you always out there, talking to young people?" And I said to him, and I said, how many children are in your class? And he said, between, there was two, I think 6th grade classes, so 30 and 30. He said about 60 kids. And I said, how many of those 60 kids do you think, the father is in the household? And he took a second. He said, a few, he's like 5. And I said, that's why I do what I do. Because I need to make sure that a representation of our Black men is upheld in their minds and that they see that. And I don't have to give birth to the children to protect them. I don't have to give birth to the children to honor them. I don't have to give birth to the children to hold them accountable. It's our duty and our obligation as Black men to make sure that our children see strong Black men in the household, to destroy that myth, to change the course of everything that's been happening and the destruction of the Black man in the household. It's a systematic thing that is talked about but not often talked about, and it's I want to make sure that all of that is destroyed. And so when I speak to my brothers, when I speak to young men in the community, I'm making sure that that I hold them accountable and that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
That's so great. And I know that it's important for you to be able to pour that into them and them seeing it, by you living your life and the examples you have, that they're seeing it beforehand. You're walking the walk and talking the talk, as they say. But I know we have a question from our audience, and let's see. Let's see. Okay, the question is from Philomene Dassal, if I'm saying her name right. What advice would you give someone on balancing work and children?
Hey, Philo, how are you? Thank you for the question. That's a great question. It can get difficult, and I'm still learning and growing. I can honestly attest that, I was horrible at it, up until about a few years ago, because I didn't understand, because when I'm passionate about something, I kind of get tunnel vision and I go all out. So it was something that I've, in the past, I would say 2 or 3 years, that I've done so much better. I use tools, I use my calendar as a tool. I write down things to remind myself, and I schedule, everything. If it doesn't fall in my schedule, if it doesn't fall in my calendar, then, probably won't get done. But it's a way for me to make sure that I'm balancing everything. Making sure that I spend time with, my son, my daughters, and then also working, my day job, working in the community. But everything is organized, and I have to do it that way in order for me to make sure that everything that I love and care about is met.
Yes, and it definitely is about staying present, because I know sometimes we often find ourselves buried like this, and oftentimes just being present also matters too.
I'm guilty of that. I think I'm extremely guilty of that, but I do my, I do try my best, and I do my best to make sure that I am present for those that, I need to be present for.
And that's it. We're all work in progresses. We don't all have the magic bullet to everything and just know the answers. And we got it right, because that's the case. We'll be doing other things magically if we can just figure it out that way, but we don't. So, we're doing the best we can. So when you think about, in terms of advocacy you're doing in your communities, what are some of the things in terms of that you feel like are important things to your heart that you would like to see happen that, first, as far as a community, because oftentimes people feel like it's on your shoulders to bring about change. What are some of the things would you like as a community to come and rally around as well?
So one of the things that, I saw in the post, John Robinson from Gotta Go Gaming. I saw Tanisha Gilliard from Rolling on Ice Cream. So it's important to me that we support Black-owned business. It is the lifeblood of our community. It is important to me that we circulate our Black dollar, in order to create generational wealth. And we can only do that, by supporting each other. I can assure you that other groups and other communities, the dollar circulates, multiple times. I always say this, and in certain communities, in the Caucasian community, the dollar circulates perpetually. In Asian communities, it circulates about 9 times. Latino communities, it circulates about 6 times. And in the African American communities, it circulates less than once. And, we have the most buying power in this world. And the fact is that we take all of our disposable income and we take it out of our communities. We need to reinvest in our communities. We need to invest in those businesses that are there, those mom and pop spots, so that way they can attain those levels of success that other groups have had. And then once we have our community fortified, and once we have our communities, then we can start to, venture out. But until we have home taken care of, we'll never be where we need to be. Secondly, protect all children. I live, breathe, and eat that motto, that we must protect all children, no matter if they're yours or not. It's the essence of and the the essence of who we are. So we cannot continue as a people if we have our children that are already born through those roses born through the concrete. So we have to make sure that concrete doesn't just engulf them and kill off their spirit before it's time to mature. We have to make sure that we water those roses, that we grow those roses, and then those roses produce more roses. And so that is the mission and the vision that I've been about for my entire career.
And with everything that you have going on and with your children and your career, how do you just enjoy life? What do you do to kick back and just like take it all off your mind at times?
I'm a homebody,
Okay.
but I love sports. I love sports radio. I love watching sports, and family. Those are the things that I enjoy the most. Just music, listening to music, watching and listening to sports, and family. That's kind of like I'm sorry. I'm like going off, but the gym. Those are the things that drive me the most. Yeah, and I love the most. Those are my happy places. Those are where my heart lies, and those are the things that push me and make me happy. Every day that I wake up.
And speak about the gym. I always tell people that the greatest bio I can ever read is whatever social footprint that you put out there. And I saw that you had a transformative life period in your life where you had accomplished and done so and lost weight. How was that? Was it a pivotal moment in your life that made that change, or was it just a reflection in the mirror? What made you decide to create the transformation in your life?
Yeah, so I had high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol. The Bermuda Triangle of death, and those are the three leading causes of death in African American households. So I had all three of them, and it wasn't like a low grade. It was like very high, actually. I was pushing through all of those barriers in terms of what you're not supposed to be and where you're not supposed to be. I far exceeded them. So I was near stroke levels. I'm actually surprised I didn't have a stroke. And so, my doctors spoke to me, but it didn't really resonate until one of my doctors mentioned my children. And they asked me, which one of your children is going to read your eulogy? Immediately when you hear something like that, you kind of get defensive. And I said, who are you talking to? And the doctor just looked me in the eyes and said, I'm talking to you. And so I immediately said, I'm going to change my life. And going back to your point earlier about discipline, I just threw everything out, and my discipline has carried me. I stopped drinking alcohol. I was never much of a drinker anyway, but, I understand that, when you're drinking, I know for those who may drink and partake, I don't, but, I look at it as poison. I look at sugar as poison. I look at fast food as poison. And so, the discipline is what has carried me through. And, I'm proud to say that I no longer have diabetes. I no longer have high blood pressure, and I no longer have high cholesterol. And I can tell you that I'm never going back.
It's amazing.
So I'm never going back. It's been a 4-year journey now. It's the greatest decision that I've ever made in my life, for me personally, other than my children. And I'm happy to say that, I have, over the course of these 4 years, advocated and helped other people change their lives. And that's part of my mission as well.
And it's so great that you're so vulnerable to be able to express that, because oftentimes people hide in the shadows when they are going through those transformations and don't want to disclose and discuss. It's just like miraculously that you show up on Instagram, differently. So I think that's great of you to be able to share that part of yourself, because oftentimes people don't want to discuss it. So we thank you for sharing that part of you. And because it is so rampant in the Black community with all those elements that happen, and we need to talk about it and be more open about it and talk about the changes that can happen. And you are a true testament to what can happen when you make the change within yourself.
And let me just add too, I spoke about generational wealth when I was talking about supporting businesses in the community and developing generational wealth. But in order to achieve generational wealth, you have to be there.
Amen.
If you're not there, if you're, and then you're young people, and we see that child obesity is on the rise, especially in African American communities. If we're not there and we're dying off younger and younger and younger, what do you think is going to occur eventually? We're going to cease to exist as a race of people. And so we have to, and I'm not, I know I sound morbid, and I'm just speaking the truth. You know, do you think it's by accident that there's a McDonald's on every single corner in our communities? Do you think there's by accident that there's a liquor store in every single corner in our communities? You know, it's not by accident, you know. And so we have to have the discipline to fight through that. You know, you can have, you know, partake every once in a while if you like. You know, you can do it in moderation, but, you know, we overindulge, and that's what's killing us. And it's something that we have to stop immediately.
So true. And that's why I said I'm so glad that you share that part of your journey. And I know we have more questions. I know people are anxious to ask you some questions. So I'm glad that they are out there doing so. Philo said again, how do you shut out the negativity? Hoping that there's not much being thrown your way, but when there is times that people come with you with the negative stuff, how do you shut it out?
I just take solace in the fact that I know that I'm doing the best that I can do. You know, I know that I work extremely hard. I know that I give my 1,050% of myself. I know that I as I say, I leave the blood on the floor, you know? So because of that, it just allows me another level of comprehension. It just makes me understand that there are people out there that don't have the same passion as you, that don't have the same drive as you, that may look at certain things in your life and want those things. And because of their negativity and because of their happiness, I will not allow them to bring me down. Absolutely.
And I always say oftentimes people got issues that ain't got nothing to do with you. It's always about something else. But we have another question from Mama Merva. What are some goals you have made for the future in your career, and where do you see yourself in the next 3 years?
Thank you, Ms. Forrest. Just for future goals, I won't say necessarily next 3 years. You know, I would definitely love to join Ola and Javen, you know, on a global level. You know, helping as many people as we can across this earth. You know, like, you know, we could be partners in some initiative or something, but, you know, that's where I would like to be on a state or global level, you know, making change for millions and millions of people.
Well, that's great. I know, you know, everything you probably want to have accomplished or will accomplish in your life will, because I can't imagine going through school with 4 children, let alone the 2 I got now, and I can't even read a book with 2 kids. I would have been like, nah, man, y'all. So that is so amazing that you have that and be able to share that part of yourself. But when you look over your entire life and just say to yourself, you know, well, I want to say, well, job well done to you without even saying it to yourself. What advice would you give your younger self going through, starting out, beginning, and that you would pour back into someone else thinking about going through the same process as far as getting into service?
When the message was brought to me, you know, I laughed and I didn't understand it. So I would tell myself, receive it, understand it, and cherish it. You know, Tupac had a song, and one of the quotes he stated, you know, it seemed a little unimportant when he told me I smiled, pictured jewels being handed to an innocent child. So as an innocent child, you don't really truly appreciate the jewels that you were given. So I would love to go back and just tell myself that all of those jewels that, you know, from my parents to Dr. Edwin McCampbell to Mr. Whitaker to, you know, my auntie that passed away, all of those people, I would have maybe just soaked it all up a lot sooner. And, you know, who knows where I'd be at this age, you know, but, you know, I would just say, take the advice that you're given, receive it, understand it, and cherish it.
That's amazing. And
lastly, apply it.
Apply it. I love that. Apply it. That's so true. And I know that you have stated you are a hip hop enthusiast and you love Tupac, and you have probably a lineage of like things that he said. Is there, you know, even with him or anyone else, is there a certain mantra that you live by, or that you kind of tell yourself that you know, go get you revved up and keep going?
That's just it. What you just said.
Mm.
Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going. You know, when I'm on a treadmill, and you know, I'm at that 55th minute,
Oof.
and you know, I'm you know, trying to go for that hour, and my legs are dead tired, and you know, I'm just pushing myself, and I just say to myself, keep going, keep going,
Oof.
keep going, keep
Wait,
going.
did you say 55th minute? Now, here's a question. At what speed? Because, see, I can do 55 at like a 2.0.
Like a between a 4 and a 5.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. I'd have been like, all right, so Councilman Berg, I'm going to go get us some lunch. At a 4.0 for an hour.
Yeah.
But that's amazing though. But see, that was a probably the build up, and that's the thing about it. You kept going, and that's why you're able to build up to that, and you don't, let yourself quit on yourself.
And I'm gonna tell you a little story about that. So I hated to jog, I hated to run, I hated it. But during the pandemic, there wasn't much of anything open,
Mm-hmm.
and so I loved the gym, and all of the gyms were closed. Luckily, some of the parks were still open, and I wanted to jog, but I hated it. And I remember a friend of mine by the name of Kieran Walton, who jogs, professionally and runs professionally. I said to him, how do I do it? How do I maintain, the pace, and how do I do it? And he said to me, when you're out there, don't pay attention to anyone. Put blinders on. He said, you're going to see people out there running at full speed and the top speed. You're going to see people out there doing backflips and cartwheels. And he says, run your own race. He said, run your own race.
Yeah.
He said, if you're able to only do half of a lap one day, do a half of a lap. The next day, try to do a full lap. And I took that advice. And what really stuck when he said, run your own race. And that's what you have to do in life.
I was just going to say the same, like, yes,
race.
run your
And
own race.
I promise you, from when I started, I started doing half of a lap. Then I started doing a full lap. Within a month or so, I was doing about 30 laps consistent. Yeah, so, I was training for a marathon. I kind of slowed up a little bit, but I did it. And it was something that I never thought I could do. And it was based off that advice, run your own race. Thank you to Kieran Walton for that advice.
That is really great advice. Advice for life, advice of getting around a treadmill or whatever else you're trying to do to work out, or just keep motivated in life. I like to call my version of exercising jaywalking. I've coined this phrase as a
jaywalking.
Jaywalking. I'm a jaywalker. Yes.
Okay. Hey, listen. That's good.
So you get a little, mine's gonna be like a 2-second, it'd be like and be like, and done. So but it's like keep going, as you said, keep going is the most important thing. I understand we have another question from our audience. Let's see. She's full of questions tonight. Thanks for the questions though. Would you encourage your kids to get into politics? That's a good question.
I won't say necessarily politics, but definitely community activism.
Mm-hmm.
My two oldest, especially my two eldest, they're very involved in their respective industries. My eldest is at Lincoln University, and she is very active in the community over there. My second eldest, who was a student at, she's taking a break now at NJIT. But she's very active as well in her respective communities as well. So it's something that I really want them to be engaged in. And I encourage them. I speak to them often about, just being involved and helping people as much as you can, because they didn't struggle the way that, you and I did growing up, and so they have a much, much better life because of the hard work and the struggle that we had to endure. And so because they've been given that opportunity, they have a responsibility to give back. And and it's a duty and it's a calling, but more than it is a duty, and it is their responsibility to give back. And they just have to figure out how. You
Yeah.
know, it could
What
be
is it looking like?
politics. It could be social work. It could be owning a business and employing people from the community. Whatever it is, they must, you know, give back.
Yes. And that could be in any facet of their lives, you know, whether they take the route you decided to go or do something like, you know, navigate from it from other ways. You can at any point in your life, and no matter if you have a regular 9 to 5 job doing something separately, you should always have a way that you're a part of your community in service to the community. Letting Councilman Berg be an example of us individually being able to serve our community outside of holding a title. That's the most important thing too.
Correct.
So, and we normally like to wrap up and ask the questions of like, the advice you would give, but I would just, in terms of, leaving in terms of wrap up, what words of advice would you give our youth? Because a lot of times, they're at a point and people at a point in their lives, whether they had coming out of the pandemic and now transitioning back into school, or those who had to leave out of it and go back into this situation and go into the career field and trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives. What advice would you give our youth specifically about journeying into the career field?
Ownership is key. Whatever it is that you're doing, look to own it, look to operate it, look to help the community while you're operating the business, and just try to gain as much experience as you can. So if you find something that you love, go to school, build a network, build, colleagues that have that same passion that you have, and maybe work a little bit just to gain that experience. But the ultimate goal should be ownership. That's the advice that I would give. In order for us to help our communities, to raise our communities, to help it flourish, again, those roses creating other roses, we can only do that through ownership. If we do not own where we live, if we do not own the land that we live on, then we can't, continue to build fertile ground. So it's a key and important. I told my children, I want to be the last generation, I just want to be the last generation that does not, that works for a living, as a day job. I want to make sure that they have the necessary tools and the skills to have and build their own brands and their own businesses, and to help others do the same.
That is so great. That is so great. And it's such a great attitude to be able to teach others, because oftentimes people always thought about, working under someone else as opposed to, or having, things not being owned by ourselves. So that's a great thing to own, ownership being the key. We thank you so much.
So if you want to talk about careers, entrepreneurship, and ownership, that should be the ultimate goal.
Yes, because I remember being in high school eons ago, and a guy coming in was talking about being a business owner, and I was like, I don't want to work for myself. What? And it's so amazing how mentally at that time, being younger and immature, not realizing the importance of having and owning it. I guess it's not for everyone. We get that there's a world that has to do other jobs like firefighters or police officers. You're not an entrepreneur doing that, but if you have the tenacity to do that, you should be able to go into that, because it does make a difference. It makes a difference. It does.
Yeah, it's something that we were never taught as children. Our people were never taught. Our people were taught to, work for someone else, as you stated. Our people were taught to, follow under the footsteps of someone else, to be led. Instead of leading. And, we need to be the last generation that message is taught to. We got to make sure that our children own, operate, flourish, and help others do the same. That should be the goal. And that is the elixir to, eternal, longevity and generational success.
Yeah, because I keep saying, if I knew then or I know now, I would not have poured my time into someone else's dreams, because ultimately That's what you're doing when you're punching the clock every day. You're pouring your time into someone else's dream. So,
Exactly.
It's depending on how you want to live out your life. But, whatever you plan on do it fully, but do it with your own ownership of whatever you do in life, but do it to the fullness of who you are and yourself. So,
correct.
But we thank you so much, Councilman Berg, for coming on and sharing your journey with us. And as we can see, we had so many questions from the audience who wanted to be able to tap into what your knowledge of just being a person who wants to help others. And I think that's the biggest part of what we all gain from you and learning that you have been a person of service. And I think that I've always said my mission in life is to be a service to others. And I thank you for taking your time out to share that part of your journey with us. I feel like we could go on for all night long, but we wanted to thank you, and hopefully we can have you back on again, because I know this will be so much more coming from you. We hope that you'll come on with us again and share that part of your journey with us.
I would love to. I just thank you so much for this opportunity and this platform to tell a little bit about my story. To you and Kiana, I'm sure it was a blessing to meet her, and I'm going to tell you a quick story.
Sure.
The mayor and I were walking catty corner to where her house is on the corner, and her mom was outside just enjoying the weather, and she looked at us and she said, "Aren't you the mayor?" Because the mayor was with me. "Aren't you the mayor?" And he says, "Yes." He goes, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm Berg." And she goes, "Who? I never met nobody named Berg." And I said, "Yeah, I'm the councilman." And I could tell she was giving me the business. She was giving me the business about what was going on.
Oh, Marva, trust me, yes.
And I was just like, and the conversation ended up being like an hour. Usually when we're canvassing, we try to do like 5-minute increments and things like that. But the conversation was like an hour, and I think that by the end of the conversation, we won her over. And she said, let me introduce you to my daughter. Come on out. And then Kiana comes out. And, we started talking for about 15 minutes. And, she blessed us with our shirts. And, and it was a great meeting. And that was like some months back. But, it was just, you could tell from the spirit of the family, from the mom down to Kiana, that it was just a truly beautiful family who truly cares about the city and really wants to see the best for it. So when you have people like that, you got to make sure that, you keep them engaged. And, so it was an honor and a pleasure to meet you that day, Kiana.
That was so great. You're muted, Key. Key, you muted. And it's so, you see how it took her mama an hour before she said to her daughter, because she was like, I ain't letting nobody. I was like, let me get this litany of questions before
because I believe Kiana's Jamaican.
Yeah.
And her mom gave us the Jamaican business, boy. She was rough.
She's watching tonight, and she's enjoying the show. Every minute of it.
Beautiful, beautiful mom, so I just want to say hello to her, and thank you for introducing Kiana to us. So thank you, Mom.
And thank you for, accepting my invitation and being a part of the show. I'm glad that we were able to make this happen. Like I said, I was backstage. You can probably tell I was teary-eyed throughout, like,
Shy, you're the crybaby. She's the serious crybaby now.
I am. So I'm glad that I'm backstage most of the show. So, but it was such an honor. You shared so many jewels during this show tonight, and I can't thank you enough for being a part of it.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you to everybody who tuned in, all of the people with the great questions and the comments. I see them. I love you guys. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, Councilman Berg. We appreciate you. And again, glad that you got your flowers this evening. We wish you much success, and we will see you so soon out on the streets of East Orange. We appreciate you.
Most definitely. Thank you so much.
And we thank everyone for joining us tonight, for coming on and asking Councilman Berg questions and being engaged the entire time. For those who enjoyed the show and know of someone who has been an inspiration to you or that has been an inspiration to others, please email us at inspiredbyanonymous@gmail.com. It's right there below. And email us your story or that person's story so that we can share their journey with others so they can be inspired as well. And if you want to support the show, this platform is here to support our youth and others who want to be inspired. If you want to support the show, please do so by Cash Apping $Kiana Tennant on Cash App. And you can send $1, $5, $10, $1 million, whatever you got in your back pocket, whatever, just send it on our way. We appreciate any support that you can provide. But make sure you're also following us on all social media platforms. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. And if you miss any of our past episodes, they're available to you all on Facebook as well as YouTube. But make sure you do so and follow us right now at Inspired by Nana, so you can see these type of interviews and so much many more that are coming up that we have to share with everyone. But until then, I am your host, Shy Hayes. You all be blessed. Have a wonderful evening. And remember, we inspire together.